what if the line between a fictional universe and your actual memory is like a lot thinner than you think?
Oh, that is such a fascinating way to put it because, we usually approach fantasy worlds as tourists.
Right, exactly. We look around at the magic systems and the mythical creatures, and then we just close the book and go home.
Yeah, you pack up and leave.
Ah,
But today, we're doing a deep dive into a literary universe that is actively designed to prevent you from leaving.
it really is. We are digging into a massive stack of source materials today. We've got internal character Bibles, location files, world-building documents, all outlining the intricacies of Hellion Blackwood Books, or HBB.
And specifically, we are looking at the living sanctuary at the center of this universe, which is Thulamela.
Thulamela. I just love saying that.
It's a great name, but to understand how this works, we really need to establish what Thulamela actually is. Because it's not just a building, right?
Right.
It is a dimensional sanctuary.
Yeah.
A physical ecosystem that actually shifts and breathes to accommodate the people and the histories that reside inside it.
And the source documents give us this, like, perfect scene to anchor the whole thing. It's a behind-the-scenes chat taking place at a location called the Bush Bar.
Oh, I love the Bush Bar.
It's the best. It's this neutral territory inside Thulamela where, vampires, fae, and hunters all just grab a drink in mandated peace.
Yeah, no fighting allowed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now, the mood in this scene is just so joyful and atmospheric. It's a celebration for the official opening of the HBB archives.
Right, so you have Hellion, the archivist, with her cerise pink hair, and Savage, the steward, who's in her dark hoodie, and they're just trading stories.
And over in the corner, you've got Sarge. He's the warden of the sanctuary, just sitting in his favorite chair, smoking a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And he occasionally interjects into their conversation with these, like, super dry, sarcastic one-liners.
It's such a highly textured environment because up in the rafters, you also have this massive great gray owl named Hooch.
Yes.
And he's completely silent, just radiating absolute judgment over the whole room.
Meanwhile, zipping around the room in a state of pure, chaotic excitement is this tiny crow named Ink.
It's such a vivid picture, and our mission today is to tear down the engine of this world building and see how it actually runs.
Yeah, we want to extract how the creator of this universe elevates storytelling from, passive reading into an active, living archive.
So whether you are a creator yourself looking to reverse engineer a masterclass in world building, or you just love the mechanics of a cozy but dangerous fantasy setting, we are going to break down how this universe blurs the line between reality and imagination.
And I think that starts by looking at the human anchors managing this massive influx of information, Hellion and Savage.
Right, because an archive of this scale, one that holds really dangerous forgotten truths, requires keepers to manage the flow.
Yeah, you need someone at the wheel.
Exactly. And their dynamic is the first major mechanical choice the creator makes to ground the universe. They represent the necessary tension between visionary storytelling and, well, practical logistical execution.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's pull apart Hellion's role first. As the archivist, she isn't your standard fantasy chosen one.
No, not at all.
The files describe her as a professional overthinker, fueled entirely by strong black coffee and intense curiosity. She is the protector of these forgotten histories.
But she doesn't just catalog things, right? She acts as an active historical investigator.
Yeah, and the documents note a very specific psychological detail about her, which is that the archives get loud.
Oh, yes. The metaphysical weight of erased histories and dangerous truths, it takes a massive toll on her.
It really does. The lore specifically points out that she smokes cigarettes, not as this, like, cool aesthetic choice, but as an emergency exit.
Right, like when the psychic weight of the stories becomes overwhelming, she has to step outside, physically distance herself, breathe, and reset.
She is driven by this relentless passion, but it's a heavy burden, which brings a completely different kind of burden onto her partner, Noah Savage.
The steward of Thulamela.
Exactly. So while Hellion manages the ethereal weight of the stories, Savage is managing the actual physical sanctuary.
She runs Hellion's Book Nook, which is the public-facing bookshop, but beyond that, she is the logistical backbone of the whole place.
She handles the deliveries, the archive administration, and she fixes the Wi-Fi.
Yes. The lore literally says she keeps a baseball bat behind the counter labeled technical support for when the printer stops working.
I love that so much. And after hours, she unwinds by putting on a headset and playing Call of Duty Mobile just to empty her mind.
It's a brilliant juxtaposition.
I do want to push back on this a bit, though. When I first read through these character Bibles, I found myself questioning the tone.
So,
Well, you have this sweeping world of ancient magic, vampires, dimensional sanctuaries, and yet we're spending time talking about spreadsheets, router issues, and a broken printer.
yeah, I see what you mean.
Isn't there a risk that focusing so heavily on the mundane administrative side kind of undermines the mystique of a magical fantasy setting? It almost feels like putting an IT department inside Rivendell.
It might seem that way at a glance, but mechanically, it's doing something very sophisticated. It provides cognitive grounding for the reader.
Cognitive grounding.
Yeah. If a universe consists solely of high magic, infinite power, and world-ending stakes, the reader eventually loses their sense of scale.
Oh, like the magic becomes weightless?
Exactly. By introducing Savage's rigorous, systematic nature, it makes the impossible functional. It tells you that even in a world of mythical houses and magical libraries, the fundamental laws of logistics still apply.
Someone still has to make sure the lights stay on.
Right. Someone has to pay the server costs. This grounds the fantasy in a reality you recognize, which makes the magical elements feel earned and authentic rather than arbitrary.
Okay, that actually makes perfect sense. It's the contrast that makes the magic pop. Without Savage holding the foundation together, Thulamela would still exist, but it would be completely dysfunctional.
Yeah, she allows Hellion's grand visions to safely take flight.
And speaking of taking flight, we have to look at the living ecosystem of Thulamela. Savage tries to implement strict order, but she is constantly navigating uncontrollable variables introduced by the animals.
Oh, the animals! And the source files are very clear about this. These are not pets.
No, they are partners with intense agency, and they function as narrative devices that dictate the pacing of the sanctuary.
Let's start with Hooch, the great gray owl we mentioned earlier in the bush bar.
The keeper of forgotten things.
That's his official title, yeah. He was at the Book Nook for centuries before Savage even arrived. I find the mechanics of how he communicates absolutely fascinating.
It's a masterclass in establishing authority through restraint, really.
Yeah.
He operates on 4 distinct levels of communication.
Restraint is exactly the right word, because most fantasy companions, they chatter constantly. But Hooch exists almost entirely in silence.
Right. 99% of his communication is level 1, which is just silent body language.
Slow blinks, ear tufts, intense spares that radiate judgment.
Then level 2 is rare, short speech. Just a dry, 2-word observation like, she's lying, or unwise.
I love how blunt he is. Level 3 is telepathic mind speech, which he reserves only for highly trusted allies.
But level 4 is where the restraint pays off. Once in a very long while, he uses an ancient booming voice that physically echoes through the room.
And the lore notes that when level 4 happens, every single entity in the sanctuary freezes.
Even the chaotic crows drop what they're doing.
Because when Hooch speaks aloud, it usually just means one thing: run.
No one asks for an explanation, they just move.
Yeah. By withholding his voice 99% of the time, the creator ensures that when he does speak, the narrative stakes immediately spike to maximum.
But the tension is broken by these deeply comedic, almost mundane animal behaviors. Like Hooch has this running gag where he comes back from hunting, drops a dead mouse directly next to Savage while she's trying to work, and then just waits for praise.
He genuinely views it as a gift.
He has no concept of why a human would object to a rodent in a bookshop.
Which serves as a perfect foil to the sanctuary's other primary animal presence, ink. If Hooch represents patience, wisdom, and narrative anchoring, ink represents pure, unadulterated chaos.
Ink is a tiny crow, always drawn with one feather sticking straight up. He's the official mascot of the Book Nook.
Structurally, he represents the prompt of what if.
Yeah.
He is the catalyst for action.
He constantly seals Savage's labels for the herb jars. Not the herbs themselves, just the labels, which drives the organized Savage absolutely crazy.
And he steals Hellion's reading glasses.
Right. Instead of speaking, he communicates by dropping random items he scavenges. A bottle cap, a marble, half a biscuit.
And when he drops it, a tiny caption just appears that reads, "Evidence."
Nobody ever asks where he found a Roman coin. He just drops it to initiate an investigation.
It's such an interactive cue for the reader. Ink is pulling on loose threads, but then you have the complete inverse of that playful chaos and Dark, the Harbinger.
Dark is the oldest crow in the sanctuary. He doesn't caw. He doesn't steal labels. The files describe him as physically absorbing the light around him.
His entire purpose is to drop a single black feather on Hellion's desk to announce that a world-changing archive has awakened.
The motto associated with him is, History does not knock. Dark simply arrives. He is the manifestation of inevitable destiny.
When Dark appears, the dynamic of the room completely shifts. Even Sarge, the warden, takes off his hat in respect.
But here's where I'm struggling with the tonal consistency of the world building. Dark's character Bible reveals a massive, ridiculous contradiction.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
This ancient harbinger of destiny, who absorbs light and signals historical trauma, has one specific weakness. Human children absolutely adore him.
That's so funny.
The imagery is hilarious. You have a 5-year-old walking up and hugging this cosmic entity of dark fate, rambling about a frog they found, and Dark just freezes and patiently endures it. He just accepts his fate of being adopted by a toddler.
It's a great image.
But doesn't this comedic juxtaposition actively undermine the terrifying stakes he's supposed to represent?
That's a really common assumption, but in practice, the opposite is true. If you construct a universe where the heavy, world-ending stakes are turned up to a 10 at all times, the reader experiences emotional fatigue.
They just go numb to the threat.
Exactly. What this comedic beat does is reestablish a baseline of normalcy. It shows you the vulnerable, innocent life that exists within Thulamela.
By letting a toddler hug the harbinger of death, the creator makes Thulamela feel lived in and real.
You start to care deeply about the world-ending stakes specifically because you want to protect those quiet, funny, absurd moments. The humor doesn't undermine the darkness, it provides the necessary contrast to make the darkness actually feel threatening.
That tension between the cozy and the catastrophic has to be physically housed somewhere, which brings us to the geography of Thulamela itself.
The sanctuary literally shifts to accommodate both the mundane administration and the weight of historical consequence.
Right. We started our discussion at the Bush Bar, which perfectly encapsulates the cozy side, its neutral ground.
Sarge runs it, serving up legendary brews. And as the warden, his approach to problem solving is intensely practical.
Yeah, he'll use ancient magic or shotgun, depending purely on the logistics of the moment.
And right adjacent to that, you have the apothecary gardens. These are magical greenhouses that Sarge tends to, and they're self-regulating.
The security system here is fascinating. If you enter the garden with arrogance and attempt to steal an herb, the garden doesn't hit you with a lightning bolt or a dramatic curse.
No, it simply gives you the wrong plant.
It's a system built on natural consequence rather than punitive justice. Nature corrects arrogance by letting you fail on your own terms.
You take the wrong plant, you brew the wrong remedy, you suffer the exact consequence of your own ignorance. It's a lesson in humility.
But the concept of consequence gets incredibly dark when we look at the other extreme of Thulamela's geography. Located far up in the jagged cliffs surrounding the sanctuary is a place called the Fault.
The fault is the terrifying counterweight to the warmth of the Bush Bar. It's described as a living dimensional scar.
This is where Thulamela holds the relics that are too dangerous to use, but historically too important to destroy.
Extinct magic, broken seals, world-ending weapons.
And the mechanism for accessing it is brutal. You can't just walk in and remove an artifact. To take something out of the Fault, you must leave something of equal weight behind.
And the files specify this is not monetary value, it's narrative or emotional weight.
You have to leave behind years of your life or a treasured memory.
It operates on the law of equivalent exchange, but applied to historical burden. The quote associated with it is, "Power without responsibility never leaves."
But let's look at the logic of this from a macro perspective. If they are hoarding broken seals and extinct magic in a dimensional scar that, if fully opened, will fracture reality and make magic unstable, aren't they basically just hoarding a ticking time bomb?
That's the big question.
Are they genuinely protecting the world, or are they just endangering themselves by refusing to destroy these relics?
This debate is actually the central philosophical tension of the HBB universe. It is the clash between responsibility and destruction.
Like real-world nuclear waste storage.
Exactly. You have a highly volatile, dangerous material. Destroying it entirely isn't possible. Or, in Thulamela's case, destroying it means erasing history. And their core rule is that forgotten history repeats itself.
Hellion's philosophy is that even the most dangerous objects deserve context and preservation.
Whereas Sarge leans toward keeping certain histories permanently buried. The Fault isn't a vault asking, are you strong enough to wield this weapon? It is a moral threshold asking, can the fabric of the world survive the consequence of your decision?
They aren't hoarding power for the sake of power. They are taking on the massive, dangerous burden of remembering what power costs.
And the boundary between that dangerous history and the safety of the sanctuary isn't the only boundary that's porous in this
Oh,
universe.
right. The boundary between the fictional text and our actual reality is actively blurred by the creator. This brings us to the meta-narrative.
The fictional world is specifically engineered to bleed directly into the real-world reading experience. The creator uses Hellion's Book Nook, or HBN, not just as a fictional location managed by Savage, but as a genuine, real-world digital platform for the reading community.
It's presented as if you are accessing a terminal inside Thulamela itself. Every real-world article, book review, or fan theory posted on the site includes the tagline, filed from the Book Nook, Thulamela.
And it hosts a massive variety of content. It isn't just a static promotional page. You have poetry, Sunday Funday comics, maps.
And actual real-world podcasts that investigate other popular literature through the lens of Thulamela's archivists.
Yeah, a perfect example of this in the source files is their literary investigation into a massively popular dragon fantasy series,
Right, the investigation is titled Empyrean Unlocked the Andarna Problem.
where they deep dive into the mystery of the seventh dragon breed and how it changes the established lore of that world.
But HBN presents this discussion as if it is an actual classified intelligence file being reviewed inside the sanctuary. And the creator rewards the community for participating in these investigations with incredible digital artifacts.
The giveaways aren't just standard merchandise. They're designed to feel like pieces of the archive.
Exactly. We're talking about highly detailed digital wallpapers, a comprehensive dragon dossier,
Interrogation questions that read like actual psychological evaluations.
beautiful high-res maps, comedy strips, and an entire poetry book.
By framing community engagement this way, the creator is fundamentally changing how the reader interacts with the text.
Because when Savage, as a character, investigates a book, she doesn't just slap a 5-star rating on it.
No, she approaches it as forensic psychology. She asks what trauma shaped this villain, what historical pressures created this conflict.
It trains you, the reader, to analyze literature the same way. It tells you that your curiosity, your theories, and your emotional investment aren't just fandom byproducts.
They are official, necessary components of the archive. The philosophy of the Book Nook states that books cannot live without readers, and readers cannot always live without hope.
By treating your real-world participation as in-universe archiving, it validates your emotional connection. It demands active participation rather than passive consumption.
Which brings us to the ultimate purpose behind all of this world building. Why go to such extreme lengths to blur the lines between fiction and reality?
It's rooted in a profound philosophy about memory, connection, and survival. And nothing in the source documents encapsulates this better than the Garden of Names.
The Garden of Names is Thulamela's memorial sanctuary. But it's not a cemetery for kings or legendary warriors.
No, it is specifically dedicated to the healers, the librarians, the messengers, and the friends who protected the sanctuary. And the core belief governing the garden is the concept that a person actually dies twice.
Yes, the philosophy states that you die once when your physical body leaves the world.
And you die a second time when your name is spoken for the very last time.
The entire purpose of the Garden of Names is to prevent that second death. Every single memorial is unique. Every flower planted there tells the specific story of the life beneath it.
The sanctuary fiercely protects this space. In fact, the documents note that even the chaotic, noisy murder of crows falls completely silent the moment they cross the threshold into the garden.
It's an incredibly moving concept, and it serves as the mechanical explanation for why your real-world participation matters.
The creator explicitly states, "Books survive because people choose to protect them. Worlds survive because people choose to respect them."
This is the ultimate takeaway for you listening right now. Stories, histories, and memories are living things, but they require a host to survive.
They require active participation. When you read these files, when you speak the names, when you ask the forensic questions about the lore, you are the one keeping the archives open.
You are actively refusing to let that second death happen to these worlds. You aren't just a consumer buying a product.
You are being drafted as a keeper of the archive.
But taking on that role comes with a warning, which is explicitly detailed in the files. When an archive awakens in Thulamela, when a piece of history demands to be acknowledged and the residents try to ignore it, the sanctuary itself turns against them.
It becomes chaotic. Books physically throw themselves off the shelves. Sarge's freshly brewed coffee goes ice cold instantly.
Doors that used to lead to the kitchen suddenly lead to the wrong rooms entirely.
The weather outside turns hostile, and the environment will continue to fracture and escalate until the history is finally faced and processed. The house forces you to finish what you started.
You cannot outrun an unresolved archive.
Which leaves us with a lingering question to think about after we wrap up today. If Thulamela's mechanics are just a reflection of how we process memory, and if our own real-world history is really just a series of unresolved archives,
What kind of societal chaos are we living through right now simply because we collectively refuse to open the files of our own past?
it completely changes how you view the world around you. Think about that the next time you hear the rain hitting the window or you see a single black feather resting on the ground. History doesn't knock, it simply arrives.